The silence inside the alien ship felt like it had weight. Commander Ryan Cole stood near the large viewing glass, looking out at a sky filled with slow-moving stars. His ship, the Horizon, had docked with the alien cruiser Varan 12 only an hour ago. He had come to make peace, but peace felt far away. The air was thick, almost alive, as if the walls themselves were listening. The Varans were a reptilian race, tall, scaled, and graceful. Their eyes were long and narrow, and their speech came in deep tones that vibrated the air. Ryan had seen many species before, but never one that made the back of his neck prickle. The leader of the Varans, Cathor, stood silently across the table. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. He just watched Ryan. Ryan tried to smile. "It's an honor to meet you," he said carefully. Cathor's translator device hummed, repeating his words in the alien's tongue. A long pause followed. Then Cathor spoke, and the translator echoed in flat English. "We welcome you, human." "For now," Ryan nodded. "We come with peaceful intent," he said. "Earth wishes to share knowledge, not conflict." But Cathor didn't reply right away. He tilted his head as if listening to something distant. The other Varans in the room shifted uneasily. A low vibration passed through the floor. Ryan felt his skin crawl. Something was wrong, but he couldn't name it. He tried to stay calm. He's hiding something, Ryan thought. There's more going on here than a simple meeting. Suddenly, Cathor's eyes snapped toward him. The alien's gaze locked onto Ryan like a spear. Slowly, Cathor leaned forward. The translator didn't speak. Cathor's voice came out raw, unfiltered, in perfect English. "Watch out, human," he muttered. "I hear every word." Ryan froze. For a second, he thought he had imagined it. Then the alien straightened and stepped back as if nothing had happened. The translator clicked on again, repeating meaningless formalities, but Ryan's heart was pounding. He hadn't spoken aloud. He had only thought those words. How could Cathor have known? When the meeting ended, Ryan excused himself quickly. His escort led him back through a long corridor lined with faint blue light. The walls seemed to hum, like the sound of distant wind trapped in metal pipes. Every few seconds, the sound pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. Ryan kept glancing back, half expecting Cathor to follow him. Back on the horizon, the familiar sound of his own ship brought relief. The air smelled of metal and oil, and the hum of human machinery steadied his nerves. His first officer, Lieutenant Mara Vega, met him at the airlock. She was sharp-eyed and loyal, one of the best. "You look pale, sir," she said. "Bad meeting?" Ryan shook his head. "Strange one." The Varan leader, he spoke in English, said something odd. Mara frowned. "They're using universal translators, right? Maybe it was a glitch." "No," Ryan said quietly. He said he could hear me think. She blinked. "Hear your thoughts?" He nodded, voice low. Word for word. They walked to the bridge. Outside the wide viewports, the alien ship floated like a dark mountain in space, its hull covered in faint shifting lights. The Varans had given no reason for the delay, but they hadn't released the docking clamps either. Ryan ordered all systems to stand by and opened a secure channel. "Keep scans on that ship," he said. "If they power weapons or try to jam us, I want to know first." Hours passed. Nothing happened. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, not by cameras, but by something inside his head. He kept hearing faint whispers, half-formed words that weren't his own. Sometimes they sounded like static, sometimes like distant voices. He tried to focus on the reports coming in, energy readings, life sign scans, but the whispers kept brushing against his mind like invisible hands. Then came the alert. "Commander," Mara said, "I'm picking up a signal, human code, but it's coming from inside the Varan vessel." Ryan stood quickly. "Human code? That's impossible." "It's old," she said. "Pre-colonial format, maybe a distress beacon." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The signal flashed across the screen, 3 short pulses, 1 long. He recognized it instantly. It was an Earth distress pattern from over a century ago, but how could it be inside an alien ship? He ordered a probe launched. The small drone slipped free from the horizon and drifted across the gap. For a few minutes, the transmission was clear. Then static swallowed it. The probe vanished from sensors. "Lost contact," Mara said. Ryan leaned closer to the display. A chill passed through him. The last reading from the probe showed a faint human life sign, then nothing. "They destroyed it," he whispered. Before he could speak again, the lights on the bridge flickered. The communications console emitted a sharp buzz followed by a low, rhythmic whisper. Everyone turned. The whisper grew louder until it filled the air like a breath against their ears. "They can all hear you now, human." The voice was faint but clear. It came not from the speakers but from inside their minds. Ryan felt the words move through his skull like cold water. Mara grabbed the side of her console, eyes wide. "Sir, did you hear that?" Ryan forced his voice steady. "Yes, shut down all transmissions. Every channel now." The crew moved fast, cutting power to all external lines. The hum faded, but the silence that followed was worse. Ryan could still feel it, the presence. It was like standing in a room full of unseen people holding their breath. He knew Cathor's warning wasn't a threat. It was a message. The alien hadn't said, "I'll hear every word." He had said, "I hear every word," which meant he wasn't the only one. Something else was listening, something beyond both their ships. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He sat in his private cabin, staring at the empty space beyond the window. The stars looked calm, but the black between them felt alive. He kept replaying the meeting in his mind, remembering the way Cathor had looked at him, as if he pitied him. Suddenly, the cabin lights dimmed. His console turned on by itself, showing lines of alien script. It changed quickly into English. "Do not think loud." They listened through thought. Ryan's heart hammered. He didn't touch the controls. The message shifted again. "You have already been marked." He shut off the console, but the words burned in his mind. He stood and looked out the window. In the reflection, for a brief moment, he thought he saw another figure standing behind him, a tall shadow with glowing eyes. He turned. No one was there. The next morning, reports flooded in. Crew members had nightmares of voices calling their names. One engineer said he heard his mother's voice whispering in his head, though she had died years ago. Another said she could hear her own heartbeat repeating words she didn't understand. Ryan called a meeting. "Whatever is happening," he said. "It started after contact with the Varens. We're dealing with something that can reach inside our minds. Until we know how, we stay silent. No transmissions, no open thoughts. Use written communication only." Mara hesitated. "Sir, how do we stop our thoughts?" Ryan looked around the room. He didn't have an answer. "We don't," he said quietly. "We learn to hide them." As he left the room, he felt the same chill again, like someone whispering right behind his ear. He turned, but everyone was looking elsewhere. Then he heard it clearly, a soft voice that wasn't human. "Too late, human. We already hear you." Ryan clenched his fists, forcing his mind to go blank. For the first time in his life, silence became his weapon. He didn't know what was out there or what it wanted, but he knew one thing for certain. Cathor had been right. Something unseen was listening. And it wasn't done yet. The next day on the horizon started with tension so thick it could almost be felt. The crew spoke in short written notes now, no open channels, no loud words. Even their eyes seemed afraid to meet for too long. They all felt it, that quiet pressure inside their heads, like someone standing just behind them, waiting. Commander Ryan Cole hadn't slept. His mind replayed the alien's warning again and again. "Watch out, human, I hear every word." He sat in the dim light of the control room, staring at the dead comm screens. Every system was on lockdown, but he knew whatever had entered their minds wasn't bound by electronics. Lieutenant Mara Vega entered quietly. She carried a tablet instead of speaking. "Some crew are hearing voices again," her note said. Ryan nodded and wrote back, "How many?" She typed, 9 confirmed. "They say the voices sound like family, friendly, trying to make them talk." Ryan frowned. That matched his own experience. The whisper he heard the night before had sounded almost human. Calm, curious, patient. He wrote, "Tell them to ignore it. If they answer, it grows stronger." Mara hesitated, then typed, "What if it's already too late?" Before Ryan could respond, the lights flickered. The air turned cold. A low hum began again, like wind running through metal. All across the ship, consoles flickered on and off by themselves. On every screen, the same image appeared, a swirl of light forming an eye made of static. Then a voice filled the ship, not through speakers, but directly into their minds. "Human minds are open doors," it said softly. "So easy to walk through." Several crew members screamed. Others clutched their heads. Ryan gritted his teeth, forcing his mind to stay calm. "Everyone, focus." He shouted aloud now, his voice steady. "Do not think of fear. Think of noise, random words, numbers, anything. He wasn't sure it would help, but it gave them something to hold on to. The voice chuckled inside every head at once. Numbers cannot hide you. Thoughts are light to us. Ryan's console sparked, and suddenly Cathor's face appeared on the main screen. The Varen leader looked exhausted. The background behind him showed fire and smoke. His voice, when it came, was weak but urgent. "Human," Cathor said, "you have met the Choran." Ryan leaned forward. "You mean the voices?" "Yes, they feed on thought energy. They can cross any distance through conscious minds. They have found you because you thought too loud." Ryan's jaw tightened. "You knew this would happen." Cathor's eyes lowered. "We tried to warn you. The Choran destroyed 3 of our colonies. They consume memory, emotion, life itself. We fled here to escape, but they followed your curiosity," Mara whispered. "So they're in our minds now?" Cathor nodded. "Yes, and once they link enough of you together, they will reach your world." Ryan's heart sank. "Earth," he said softly. "Billions of minds," the alien nodded again. "If they touch your planet, your people will not even know they are dying. They will simply stop being themselves." Ryan looked around the bridge. His crew stared back, faces pale but determined. He straightened. "Then we stopped them here." Cathor blinked slowly. "Humans cannot fight thoughts." Ryan gave a thin smile. "Maybe not. But we can fight what carries them." He turned to his officers. "Prep the ship's neural dampeners and reroute reactor power to the comm array." Mara frowned. "Sir, that'll burn out half the systems." "Do it," Ryan said. "We're going to turn our thoughts off the hard way." The crew moved fast. Sparks flew as engineers rerouted power lines. The hum of the engines deepened until it sounded like a giant heartbeat. Ryan watched the readings climb. He knew the plan was dangerous, maybe impossible, but if they stayed still, they'd lose their minds one by one. Cathor's image flickered. "You intend to use silence as a weapon?" "Exactly," Ryan said. "We'll broadcast nothing. Not words, not emotion, not even thought." Cathor's expression changed, something close to respect. "Humans are reckless," he said. "But maybe that is why you survive." The connection cut off. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the corridor outside. Ryan and Mara ran to the door. A crewman was on his knees, clutching his head. "They're in me," he cried. "They're showing me my home, my mother." Then his eyes went blank. He stood up slowly and smiled, but it wasn't his smile anymore. Ryan felt cold all over. The Choran had taken him. The man turned his head and spoke, though his lips barely moved. "Why fight, human? You will all join soon. It is peaceful here." "No pain," Ryan's voice hardened. "Not our kind of peace." He signaled 2 security officers. "Stun him." Gently, the blue pulse hit the man and he fell unconscious. Ryan felt a pulse of anger ripple through his mind. The Choran's anger. They could feel what he felt. They were watching. "Start the sequence," Ryan said. The bridge lights dimmed as the neural dampeners powered up. A low vibration passed through the deck plates. The system was designed for brief mental isolation during long space travel, but Ryan pushed it to maximum range, linking it with the ship's reactor. All across the horizon, crew members felt a sudden emptiness. The whispers faded. The static quieted. It was like the world itself had stopped breathing. For a few seconds, the silence was beautiful. Then the Choran roared. The sound came from inside every skull, 1,000 screams woven together. Lights shattered, panels burst into flame. The ship shook as though struck by invisible waves. Mara fell to her knees. "They're fighting back!" Ryan grabbed the railing, shouting over the chaos. "Hold it steady. Keep the dampeners at full!" The main screen showed the alien eye again, glowing brighter, pulsing faster. Words formed inside their minds, sharp as knives. "You cannot silence thought." "We are thought." Ryan closed his eyes. "Then I'll think louder," he told himself silently. He opened a private mental channel, something experimental in his command, implant, and pushed one message outward with all his strength. "Humanity fights back." The words echoed like thunder. Across the ship, every human thought aligned into one single emotion: defiance. Fear turned into strength. Doubt turned into will. The dampeners amplified that focus into a wave that rippled through space. On the alien scanners, the Choran's psychic field began to collapse. Their link cracked and broke apart. Cathor's damaged cruiser reappeared from the static, its hull glowing. The Varens, sensing the change, joined the signal, adding their own resonance. For the first time in history, two species thought together. The Chorin screamed one last time, and then silence. Deep, total silence. When Ryan opened his eyes, the bridge was quiet again. The lights flickered weakly back on. The readings showed no trace of psychic activity. Mara stood beside him, shaking but alive. "Sir, did we win?" Ryan looked at the stars. "For now." Cathor's face appeared on the damaged monitor once more. His voice was soft. "The Choran are gone. You did what we could not." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe humans are too loud for them." Cathor gave a slow nod. "Perhaps. But they will return one day. The galaxy will remember this victory." Ryan looked around his ship at the tired faces of his crew. "Then they'll find us ready," he said. Outside the window, the wreckage of alien ships drifted silently through the void. For the first time in days, Ryan's mind felt empty, peaceful. Yet deep inside that quiet, he thought he heard one last whisper, not from the enemy but from Cathor's voice, soft and distant. "You learned fast, human. Now the galaxy will hear your thoughts." Ryan smiled and looked at the stars once more. "Good," he murmured. "Let them hear what humans think." And far beyond that sector, through the endless dark faint ripples of human thought began to travel, signals of courage, warning, and defiance. The universe listened, and this time it listened to them.